Jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you, dear Ramachandra Prabhu, Fusi Prabhu, dear Prabhu, Gopal, Madhav Prabhu, all your devotees inviting me here for some opportunity to share some Krishna Katha. This purifies me as well, most importantly. So I'll take this opportunity so that I may also purify my consciousness. So thank you again, all of you, for joining this very auspicious, very powerful, very devotional, sacred. In so many ways we can explain this Sangha. It's our great fortune that we have this opportunity here. So just let's start with this Jai Radha Madhav. So you can repeat after me. Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Premanande. Dev Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivarikaचार्य Shrutara Sadasita Srimad Abhijaranaravindra Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Dev Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivarikaचार्य Shrutara Sadasita Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Raj ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki. Natagodi Vaishnavrinda ki. Gaur Premanande. Please fold your hands. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tado Jayamudhiraye Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtigim. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. First canto, chapter 3, verse number 20. If you have the form. Or Srimad Bhagavatam, if you have the form, you can take this. Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, third chapter, verse number 20. Second canto, third chapter, verse number 20. Have it? Okay, please repeat after me if you can. Bile Bedorukrama Vikramen ye. Bile Bedorukrama Vikraman ye. Nasinvada Karnapudi Narasya. Jikswadi Darturike Nasudha. Na chabo kayandi urgaya gadaha. Synonyms: Bile, snake, holes. Beda, like. Urukrama, the Lord who acts marvelously. Vikraman, prowess. Ye, all this. Na, never. Srinvadaha, heard. Karnapudi, the ear holes. Narasya, of the man. Jihva, tongue. Asati, useless. Dardurika, of the frogs. Eva, exactly like that. Sudha, O Sudha Goswami. Na, never. Cha, also. Upagayati, chants loudly. Urugaya, bird singing. Gadaha, songs. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, J.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Please repeat after me. One who has not listened to the message about the prowess and marvelous act of personality of Godhead, and has not sung or chanted loudly the worthy songs about the Lord, is to be considered to possess ear holes like the holes of snakes, and a tongue like the tongue of a frog. Purport. Devotional service to the Lord is rendered by all limbs or parts of the body. It is the transcendental dynamic force of the spirit soul. Therefore, a devotee is engaged 100% in the service of the Lord. One can engage in devotional service when the senses of the body are purified in relationship with the Lord. And one can render service to the Lord with the help of all the senses. As such, the senses and the action of the senses are to be considered impure or materialistic as long as they are employed only in sense gratification. The purified senses are engaged not in sense gratification, but in the service of the Lord in toto. The Lord is the supreme with all senses, and the servitor, who is part and parcel of the Lord, also has the same senses. Service to the Lord is the completely purified use of the senses, as described in Bhagavad Gita. The Lord imparted instruction with the full senses. Arjuna received them with the full senses, and thus there was perfect exchange of sensible and logical understanding between the master and the disciple. Spiritual understanding is nothing like an electrical charge from the master to the disciple. As foolishly claimed by some propaganda mongers, everything is full of sense and logic, and the exchange of views between the master and disciple is possible only when the reception is submissive and real. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that one should receive the teaching of Lord Chaitanya with intellect and full senses, so that one can logically understand the great mission. In the impure state of living being, the various senses are fully engaged in mundane affairs. If the ear is not engaged in the service of the Lord by hearing about Him from Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, certainly the holes of the ear will be filled with some rubbish. Therefore, the message of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam should be preached all over the world very loudly. That is the duty of a pure devotee who has actually heard about them from the perfect sources. Many want to speak something to others, but because they are not trained to speak on the subject matter of Vedic wisdom, they are all speaking nonsense. And people are receiving them with no sense. There are hundreds and thousands of sources for distributing mundane news of the world. People of the world are also receiving it. Similarly, the people of the world should be taught to hear the transcendental topics of the Lord, and the devotee of the Lord must speak loudly so that they can hear. The frogs loudly croak, with the result that they invite the snakes to eat them. The human tongue is especially given for chanting the Vedic hymns and not for croaking the frogs. The word asadi used this verse is also significant. Asadi means a woman who has become a prostitute. A prostitute has no reputation for good womanly qualities. Similarly, the tongue which is given to the human being for chanting the Vedic hymns will be considered a prostitute when engaged in chanting some mundane nonsenses. I would also read the translation of few further verses. The upper portion of the body, though crowned with a silk turban, is only a heavy burden, not bow down before the personality of Godhead, who can award mukti, freedom. And the hands, though decorated with the glittering bangles, are like those of a dead man if not engaged in the service of the personality of Lord Hari. So like that, the eyes which do not look at the symbolic representation of the personality of Godhead Vishnu, his forms, names, quality, etc.,
are like those printed on the plumes of the peacock. And the legs which do not move to the holy places where the Lord is remembered are considered to be like tree trunks. The person who has not at any time received the dust of the feet of the Lord's pure devotee upon his head is certainly a dead body. And the person who has never experienced the aroma of tulasi leaves from the lotus feet of the Lord is also a dead body, although breathing. Certainly that heart is steel framed, which in spite of one's chanting the holy name of the Lord with the concentration does not change when ecstasy takes place. Tears fill the eyes and the hair stand on end. O Sudha Goswami, your words are pleasing to our minds. Please therefore explain this to us as it was spoken by the great devotee Sukadeva Goswami, who is very expert in transcendental knowledge and who spoke to Maharaj Parikshit upon being asked. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadadhi Supadandigam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yudapadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajadam Sahagana Raghunathanidam Dam Sajivam Sadhuidam Savadhudam Parijana Sahidam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lilidam Sri Vishakhanidamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dhinabandhu Jagatpade Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostude Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sude Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarupasya Kripa Sindhubhye Vacha Padidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhudale Srimati Lokanath Swami Dinamine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhudale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Dinamine Namaste Saraswata Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thanks again for this wonderful Sangha. This helps us to understand and realize what we are, who we are. As is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam, this was second canto, 8th chapter. What is reveals that when all the sages they were doing the yajna for they seen that their Kali Yuga is coming. They started to do a big yajna, great yajna in Naimisharanya. There's a time then Sudha Goswami reached there. As soon as they saw Sudha Goswami reached there, they understood that Sudha Goswami was in the assembly of the Sukadeva Goswami who was speaking this Srimad Bhagavatam, transcendental science. Bhagavatam means the transcendental science to the thousands of sages assembled in the banks of Ganges. So then Sudha Goswami came to the Naimisharanya. They saw that Sudha Goswami was present there and they stopped all the yajna right there. They didn't want to continue further. They stopped everything. Why? Because of they understood that more than doing the yajna, more than doing anything else, just hear from that realized soul that Sudha Goswami, so that we can get more purification, we can understand this transcendental science. That's most important. That's why, dear devotees, that hearing is very, very important. Unless and until we hear, we cannot understand this transcendental science. And we cannot cut this attachment, this bondage with this material world. As in the Bhagavad Gita says that, Behunam Janmana Mande Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate Vasudevam Sarvamedi Samahatma Sudurlabhaha. Behunam Janmana Mande. After many, many lifetimes, one gets this knowledge. What is that knowledge? Transcendental knowledge, the realized knowledge, the Vigyan. One who has that knowledge, then for him everything is Vasudeva Sarvamiti. For him, Vasudev is everything. And what is the meaning of Vasudev anyway? Anybody say what is the meaning of Vasudev? Vasudev. How do you define it? Vasudev. Vasudevam Sarvamiti Vasudev. Who is Vasudev? Krishna. And why he is known as Vasudev? Because of Vasudev. Why he is known as, Lord Krishna is known as Vasudev? Son of Vasudev. Of course, son of Vasudev. Any other meaning of this Vasudev? Any other meaning? Yes, there is another meaning. Vasu means all this material existence. All this material existence. That's why also Ashtavasus. Ashtavasus are actually also, they are the predominant deity of all these various ingredients of this world. Fire, especially the water, these are all Vasus, Ashtavasus. So Vasu means whatever exists in this material world, where it emanates from, where it comes from. All this fire comes from, where is air comes from, where is this ether comes from, where is this all the senses, mind, intelligence, all this comes from where? From Vishnu. From Vishnu. Mahavishnu. From the each pose of Mahavishnu, the entire universe is manifesting in this world. So we know that just before that, even before everything comes into place, there is unmanifested nature of this Lord that is called the Pradhan. Then that's a manifested nature that is called Prakriti. So there is Pradhan and there is Prakriti. So then Prakriti, that everything comes in an order that is called Mahatattva. I think most of you know this. There are 24 Mahatattva's, 24 elements. Anybody knows what are these 24 elements, Mahatattva? This is the basic ingredients of creation of this material world. The basic ingredients. Everything needs some ingredients, right? If you want to make some curry, you need some ingredients, right? So similarly, this is called the entire initially everything which emanates from the Lord, come from the Lord. So from the pose of the Lord, this water manifests. That's what this Kashal ocean means. In that same water, Lord lies down, the Mahavishnu. So then within the pose of Mahavishnu, each universe comes out. And then that manifests, and then Lord enters into each universe. The Lord expands there, and there are various manifestations of the Lord. So this is Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu means the existence, one who does everything. This is called Vasu. And Vasudev. Who is that Vasudev? Who is the Lord of that Vasu? Who is the Lord of Mahavishnu? Krishna. So that's why he is known as Vasudev. Vasudev. Because of he is the Lord of Mahavishnu even. So dear devotees, it's very important that we understand these facts, this science, because of, as is mentioned that one who does not walk towards the temple of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, he is like a dead body. Who doesn't hear the Krishna Katha, the supreme science of the Supreme Lord, then this is just like the snake holes. It doesn't mean anything. So like that, if we don't utilize our body for the service of Krishna, it's a dead body. If we don't utilize our tongue, which is actually to glorify the Supreme Lord, to utilize the Supreme Lord, the glorification of the Supreme Lord, then there is no use for it. So like a what is that, blacksmith. Blacksmith has a bellow. So when he uses his bellows, then the air comes and goes in. Similarly, like a person does not do anything with his hands, his legs, his senses, his mind, intelligence. It's like the blacksmith bellow. He just breathes, that's all, but in a dead body. So why it is mentioned like this? Why it is mentioned like this? Because of the human form of life is very rare to have. Very rare to have this human form of life. So we have eternal nature. That's our original nature. We are part and parcel of Krishna. Mameva amsho jiva loke jiva buddha sanadana manasya stran indriyani prakristani karshadi. We are all part of that Supreme Lord. This is what is explained in the Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter. The identity of each and every living entity. The identity. Everybody has to understand we are all part of that. Otherwise, when you come to that, the human or living entity is actually nothing but the Tadastha Shakti of the Lord, or the marginal potency of the Lord. Lord has the external potency, that's what we see, is called Behiranga Shakti, external potency of the Lord. The Lord has internal potency, that's called Antaranga Shakti. That's all the spiritual realm, spiritual world, spiritual potency is his internal potency. Then the living entities are marginal potency, and then what we see, all this is actually is external potency of the Lord. So there are three potencies of the Lord. So all what we can see in this world, the manifestation of these three potencies. So the Bhagavad Gita explains that Bhumi Rapo Nalo Vayu Kam Mano Buddhi Revacha Ahankara Vidya Me Bhinna Pragrashtadaha. Whatever we see, that Bhumi, the earth, water, fire, air, ether, Mana, Man, Buddhi or Ahankar, right? Mind, intelligence and ego. These are all the separated energy of the Lord. This is not belongs to us actually. But which comes to us. Which comes to and which covered the original, the spirit soul. But Krishna says that beyond this, Apareyam idastu manyam prakritim vidime param jiva buddha mahabhago yedam dharayet jagat. Beyond this material world, there is another nature of that is what is the supreme, the spirit soul. Living entities. Apareyam idastu manyam prakritim vidime. Beyond this material nature, there is another nature that is the living entity. Prakritim vidime param jiva buddha. Jiva buddha is beyond this material nature. So understand this, we are all beyond this material nature. We are eternal part and parcel of the Supreme. What is our nature? What is our nature? What is the living entity's nature? Sat, Chit and Ananda. What is Sat means? Sat means eternal. What is Chit means? Full of knowledge and potency. And what is Ananda means? The full of bliss. So Satchit Anand, this is the nature, this is the eternal nature of the living entity. Satchit Anand. So when we have this, so now we are not able to realize this. We are eternal, we are full of knowledge and potency, and we have the full of bliss. But instead of that, what we are doing, we are looking this all externally in this material nature, which is very temporary, which is very flickering. It's called, Chapala Sukham. It all arises from the sense perceptions. So as we say, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, right? Matras pasastu kaudeya, Shidoshna Sukha Dukkada, Agama Vaino Anityas Tamsi Dakshasya Bharata. This all happiness and distress, everything arises within the senses. This is sense perceptions. So, but we are completely hankering for it, not understanding our real identity. Not understanding our real identity. Our real identity is nothing but we belongs to that superior nature. When that superior nature comes in contact with this inferior nature, that's why this prakriti, material nature, is called inferior nature. Then when we come in contact with this inferior nature, then what happens? We are in an incompatible situation. We are in an incompatible situation. That's where this birth, death, old age, and disease all manifest like that. So we have to take birth again. Then we have to die. If you take birth, then you have to die. Birth, then death, old age, no matter what. Everybody has to go through this stage, old age. And then disease, everybody has to. So everybody is here without any disease. So everybody has to go through these different problems and the ailments. So why? Because we are in an incompatible situation. We are suffering in this world. So you know that when a fish, the natural place for a fish is the water. As soon as the fish taken out from the water, it struggles for its existence. And you all know that. Similarly, when we are not in this natural place, we are struggling here in this material world. So that's our great misfortune. So Rupa Goswami says in the Nectar of Devotion, the root cause of our suffering, anybody knows the answer for it? The root cause of our suffering is because of ignorance. The root cause of our suffering is because of our ignorance. What is that ignorance means? What does that mean by ignorance? What do you mean by ignorance? Because of, what do you mean by ignorance? Because we don't know what is right and what is wrong. We are completely in all the places. We don't know what we are. We don't know what is our senses. We don't know what is our mind, how it functions. We don't know what is our body. We don't know what is our intelligence. We don't know what is the soul, the spirit soul. We don't know, and who controls all this. So all this explains it very beautifully. Beautifully in the sense that, so we have this different structure like this. So we have the body, or higher than the body we call it as senses. Higher than the senses, which is known as the mind. Higher than the mind is intelligence. And then higher than the intelligence is the soul. And then higher than the soul is the spirit soul or the super soul. So we have these different layers, but we don't know how to utilize it. That's our ignorance. So when you don't know how to utilize these all different functions, different aspects of the body, then we are in trouble. So as is mentioned that Srimad Bhagavatam, the hands, the eyes and all the senses we are utilizing for various, all the other worldly things. We think that we get some, happiness from there. It's like a mirage. When you go to desert, you see that there are some mirage, there is some water out there. So you see that from the far distance. And actually there is no water, but you see there is some water. So similarly in the material world, we are looking everything in wrong place. We see that there are some happiness there, but we hunger for it, we go for it, but we finally realize that there is no water, nothing like that. So everything is like that in this world. We hunger for so much endeavor, ugra karma. Then finally we realize that there is nothing like that. So that we are wasting our life. Every lifetime we are wasting. We go with this one by one. Then finally we come by the mercy of some devotees, some sugrdi, some kripa, then we come and little bit of by the mercy of devotees of the Lord, we come in contact with this superior potency, that is called the spiritual potency. Then it slowly starts to make sense. Then it actually dilutes, it breaks all our covering, all the layers of the senses, mind, intelligence, which is completely covered with all the lust, greed and anger. Right? Do you agree with me? All our senses, mind, intelligence. This is the sitting place of the lust. Lust is incessant desires for this material hankering, which leads to all our problems, all these various, and leads to such a way that, that how the mind takes us away in all this. And just because of the mind, we are not able to control our mind. The jail which filled into in this various countries, just because of little, that moments of uncontrolled mind, they do so many, the sinful activities. They kill people, they steal, they rob, so many things, plundering, everything they do because of they don't have that kind of full control of the mind. They don't have that proper understanding what is also. Basically, all our root cause of our suffering is nothing but ignorance. What is ignorance means that we don't know how to utilize our body, mind, senses, intelligence. So that's why it's mentioned that in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So as soon as all the sages came, all the sages saw that Sudha Goswami is approaching, and they all stood up and they paid their obeisances to Sudha Goswami and requested to Sudha Goswami that please explain. Please share with us, reveal this transcendental science of Krishna. And you know that Sudha Goswami was there in the presence of Sukadev Goswami. Sukadev Goswami was a very dear devotee of Krishna, and Parishit Maharaj was the very dear devotee of Krishna. Definitely there must have been some kinds of discussion of Krishna. So can you please share with us? They stopped everything and they wanted to hear everything. And they was revealing this. And exactly revealing that one's ears are not able to hear the glories of Krishna. It is just like a snake holds nothing else. One's legs are not able to walk to the temple of the Lord. It is just a dead body that is useless. So similarly, that our body which is meant for to engage in the service of the Supreme Lord, if we don't utilize, it's just a waste of another life, dear devotees. This is called knowledge. And if it is not, that's called ignorance. So we know that there's a great devotee, and how the Lord always take care of such devotees. And Lord sees everything. Lord is known as Bhavagrahi, Janardana. Lord is seated in our heart. Lord is seated in our heart. He says in Bhagavad Gita 15:15 says that Sarvasya Chaham Hridisanya Vishnu Madhas Smrtir Jnanam Abhohanam Cha Vedescha Sarvam Ahameva Vedyo Vedanakrit Vedakriteva Chaham. I am seated in everyone's heart. Krishna says, I am seated in everyone's heart. From me comes remembrance. From me comes knowledge. From me comes forgetfulness. All this comes from Krishna. And who gets this? The degree of that, how do we surrender? How do we engage our body, mind, senses in the service of the Lord? Ye yadhamam prabodhyante tam sadaiva bhajamyaham mama vartamanu vartante manushya partha sarvashaka. Krishna says, I reward them accordingly how they approach me. How? I reward them accordingly how they approach me, the degree of devotion, the surrender unto me. So dear devotees, this is the fact. So we have this beautiful human form of life, very rare to have. Durlabha manava janama satsanga tarahu epada sinthure. Durlabha manava. This human form of life is very rare, very rare. Out of many millions of lifetime after we are getting this human form of life. So in this human form of life, only in this human form of life that we can realize this, our relationship, our eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord. Only in this human form of life we can realize, we can ask this question that, where did I come from? Who is my father? What is my purpose? So dear devotees, it's the most important aspect of that. We are here, as assembled here as a devotee of the Lord. Somehow or other, by the mercy of the Lord, we have this opportunity. We can come and see the Supreme Lord Radha Shyam Sundar. This is not material, this is not mundane, this is spiritual. Completely transcendental. Completely transcendental. So by this process, we are taking ourselves from this lowest or material energy or the inferior energy, taking ourselves to that superior energy. That means from our marginal potency, there is a fact of that. The marginal potency has concept that if we want to go to the superior energy, so we can go there. If you want to go back to the inferior energy, come into the material world, it is possible for that. That's why marginal means tadastha. Either we can go to the superior energy or we can go to the inferior energy. It is up to us. That's called the choice. That's called the choice, that which one we need to select. That's what is, we have this free will. So Lord doesn't impose upon you that, okay, you must have to come to me. Otherwise I will punish you. No. So Lord is looking like this, and with this free will, the choice that you have, from your heart when it comes to the Lord and says, the Lord, I love you, I'm here for you. This is what His Lord is looking for. So in our free will, the choices that we have, that we should utilize to connect with the Supreme Lord all the time. This is called pure devotion. This is called pure devotion. Anyabhilashi, Rupa Goswami mentioned the nectar of devotion. Anyabhilashi the shunyam jnana karmadi anavrutam anukulena krishnana shilanam bhaktir uttama. Anya abhilashi the shunyam. So human form of life is not meant to that enjoy of sense gratification, self-centric, all that me, mine, myself, and engaging in all these kinds of various mundane material activities, and at the time of death, what happens? You are also wasted another human form of life, which very rarely, with much difficulty that we got this human form of life. Only in this human form of life that we can perceive what is our identity and whom we are, and who is that Supreme Lord. And that Supreme Lord is real. Don't think that it is imaginary. Supreme Lord is real. The Golok Vrindavan is real. The spiritual world is real. All this that we say here in the material world, similarly there is a spiritual world. We are here in this earthly planet. As we all know that our body has 72% of the water. Earth also has similarly the 72% of the water. This comes together, is aligned with it. Similarly, if you go to each planetary system, and Bhagavad explains so nicely, this is the science of God. Bhagavad explains so nicely that each planet that we go, accordingly we get a body. We enjoy there. So here we have the gross body because of that everything that fit into it. So but if you go to the heavenly higher planetary system, you get a settled body. You get a settled body. What is the settled body? Similarly, the mind, intelligence and ego. Then you go higher. Beyond this material world, you have a spiritual body. We have three bodies. Sthula Sharira, Sushma Sharira and the Atmiya Sharira. So we also have that, the spirit body or spirit's soul. Then there is a supreme spirit, the Paramatma, the supreme Lord. And everything comes from him. Do you agree with me? Is there anybody thinks otherwise? That's something which accidentally happened, that is without any source. Anybody thinks here other than that? Everything manifests from that supreme Lord. He is the source of everything. Ishvara, Parama Krishna, Sachidananda, Vigraha, Anadiradir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karana. He is the cause of all the causes. He is the cause of all the causes. No doubt into that. So we have to understand this first of all. So there is a Supreme Lord. We all manifested from that Supreme Lord, as it says that Mame Vamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Buddha Sanatana. We are all living entities, are eternally part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. No doubt into that. Never ever think that I am independent in this world. I don't have any connection. I don't have any relationship with. We are all tiny, little tiny, souls, tiny form of life here in this world. We have this form like 2 hands, 2 legs, eyes, ears, the senses on the head, hairs, and like that. There are forms of life which has, 1,000 legs. There are, the wings. And if you go to the octopus in the water, they have various forms. These are all different forms in this world. Thousands of forms. And you can imagine that, how it's manifest. It all comes from our desire. The moment you desire that, you have some desires to be like that, then you become like that. As Krishna says that Anta Kaleja Mameva Smaran Mukta Kalevaram Sa Predistamad Bhavam Tada Tadbhava Magadaha Yam Yam Vavi Smaran Bhavam Tajjande Kalevaram Tam Tam Eva Ligondeya. At the time of death, whatever the consciousness you have, that's what you are going to become. So similarly, the different various forms that we can become. Only the thing that how your mind and the consciousness works. But the moment that you change everything, that instead of this material, okay, I want to become the, dive in the water. If you have that kind of intense desire to dive in the water, you are going to become you can become a fish in the water. That's what this Bhagavad explains. That the desire such a way that I want to fly in the sky, so you can easily become a bird in the sky. So like that, so many ways. There are thousands of, if you look at that, modes of nature, right? The goodness, passion and ignorance. And when you permutation of the combination of these modes of material nature, goodness, passion, ignorance, accordingly you get all these different forms of life in this world, no matter what. So dear devotees, is very important. You understand this. So our purpose of the human form of life is not to waste like this. At least some extent that you utilize your legs to come to the temple. Your eyes to see the form of the Lord. Your hands to serve the Lordships in the service of the Lord. Your ears to hear the glories of the Supreme Lord. Your body is to utilize in the service of the Lord and the devotees. Your heart, your ears and eyes, your tongue to honor the Krishna Prasadam which is offered to the Lord. This way, what happens? We purify ourselves. You know that the beautiful story of Ambarish Maharaj. How many of you know this story of Ambarish Maharaj? Ambarish Maharaj. Very few. Ambarish Maharaj was the emperor of this world. Emperor. And all the richness, all the wealth, everything he had. Everything he had. But he understood this is all temporary. Very material, flickering. I'm not going to get finally anything out of it. It's just temporary that I have. This entire world I have. We know that Yudhishthira Maharaj ruled the kingdom. How many years? Huh? How many years Yudhishthira Maharaj ruled the kingdom after he won the Kurukshetra war? 36 years. That's it. He could have lived for longer. But the moment he heard that the Krishna left the planet, he also left. Because of now he doesn't see any meaning and value for it. Similarly, the great people, they understand the purpose of the human form of life. Here, Ambarish Maharaj was seeing that every moment, even though he is an emperor of the world, he goes to the temple and mopping the floor of the temple. He is utilizing his eyes to see the Lord all the time. He wanted to see the Lord all the time like this. Always walking to the temple, using his hands to serve the devotees and the Lord. All the time he has this, because we understood that the eternal aspect, eternal identity of that is, you see, the Ambarish Maharaj is nothing but that to serve the Supreme Lord. Jivera Swarupa Hoy in the Chaitanya Charitamrita explains that Jivera Swarupa Hoy Krishnera Nityadas. Our eternal identity is nothing but to serve that the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That means we are belongs to that superior nature. When we belongs to that superior nature, that supreme energy of the Lord, that we are in a very compatible situation. Otherwise, we are in an incompatible situation. We suffer here in this world, life after life and life after life, life after life. Janma mrityu jara vyadi dosha dukha darshanam. Janma mrityu jara vyadi, all this. Life after life after life. We never get into that the point where that there is no more suffering. So Ambarish Maharaj was like that every moment. Even though he was an emperor, full of richness, everything was there. But then he utilized for the service of the Lord. So this was the month of Kartik. In the Vrindavan, Ambarish Maharaj was doing the Ekadashi Vrata. Understood that the purpose. How many of you do the Vrata Ekadashi Vrata? How many of you take? Few devotees takes Ekadashi Vrata. Please don't miss this Ekadashi Vrata. Humble request. You know why we have to take Ekadashi Vrata? Anybody knows? Why we have to take Ekadashi Vrata? Anybody? Why we have to take Ekadashi Vrata?
One of the favorite days of God.
Yes, it's a Madhava Tithi, of course. Madhava Tithi, Bhakti Janani. But what is the reason behind it to take the Ekadashi Vrata? Why we are doing? What is, yes? To purify, yes, of course, definitely. And we call it Upavas, right? Ekadashi is generally known as Upavas. What is Upavas means? What is the meaning of Upavas? Sit closer to the Lord. Upa means very close. Upanishad means to hear very closely. Nishad, hear very closely. Upavas means sit very close to the Lord. But the basic reason behind Ekadashi, and this is the day. Who is Ekadashi? Who is Ekadashi?
Devotee.
Yes. The Ekadashi is nothing but is the potency of the Supreme Lord Himself. It's manifested from the body of the Lord, Ekadashi. So, on this day, Ekadashi, Lord promised that all the sins on this universe, on this world, take the shelter, and when the Ekadashi, the day comes that this potency of the Lord manifests, on this day of Ekadashi, all the sins flies away and take shelter of the grains and beans. Hide into the grains and beans. So if you eat the grains and beans on this Ekadashi, day of Ekadashi, that means all the various kinds of sins, whatever is there, then you will get it. You will have it. You want to get into that? That's the reason for that. We should always observe Ekadashi with utmost, devotion to the Lord. Of course, it's Bhakti Janani. So like that, Ambarish Maharaj was taking this Ekadashi. And of course, 3 days. And before the Dashami, everybody started to prepare for it. Ekadashi take the fast and Dwadashi break the fast. So Ambarish Maharaj was about to break the fast. And Ambarish Maharaj was a pure devotee of the Lord, dear devotees. And ultimately, that is our goal. The ultimate goal of our life is nothing but to become a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord and His devotees. And there is nothing that we can most sublime that we can get into this world. As it says that in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Kai, Leva Matra Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoy, Sarva Siddhi. You can attain all the siddhis if you have little bit of association of a devotee, a sadhu. Similarly, when Ambarish Maharaj was just about to break the fast, Durvasa Muni appeared. Ambarish Maharaj was very happy to serve Durvasa Maharaj and mentioned to Durvasa Muni that I would serve you, please come. And Durvasa Muni agreed and said that I would take a bath and I'll come back. Durvasa Muni went to the nearby shore and to take the bath, and then he went into the deep meditation, and this was getting delayed. And Ambarish Maharaj was waiting and waiting and waiting. Then what happened? Durvasa Muni was not coming. And the fast breaking time, Parama time is getting over. So then the Brahmanas mentioned that you can take water because Ambarish Maharaj was taking the Nirjala Ekadashi. How many of you take Nirjala Ekadashi here? There are a few devotees take Nirjala Ekadashi, yes. So Ambarish Maharaj was even taking Nirjala Ekadashi. So Nirjala Ekadashi is mentioned that you can break the fast with water. So Ambarish Maharaj did. Durvasa Muni came back, and Durvasa Muni understood that Ambarish Maharaj was offended to me, that how can Ambarish Maharaj take this water even that without ordering me? He is a great demon. Durvasa Muni was using this word. You are a demon. How can you do this? How can you take this water and breakfast without me, without offering me the food? How can you eat? How can you drink? Sometimes this is the demoniac mentality also. Me, myself, and this is demoniac mentality. So then what happened? The Durvasa Muni became so enraged. He took a hair from his head. From that hair, there is a demon manifested, and the demon charged to kill Ambarish Maharaj. Can you imagine? And Ambarish Maharaj was ready to serve Durvasa Muni, and just because of this, that he took this water just to break his fast. And Durvasa Muni had raged and such a furious, angry, and he created a demon to kill Ambarish Maharaj. The Lord was not waiting for this moment. Lord just immediately sent the Sudarshana Chakra. Lord immediately sent Sudarshana Chakra to the Durvasa Muni. And the demon immediately saw that the demon which created by Durvasa Muni, the Sudarshana Chakra killed. And then now turned the Sudarshana Chakra to Durvasa Muni. Durvasa Muni became so afraid. The Sudarshana Chakra of the Lord Vishnu, the Lord Sudarshana Chakra, that there is no place to go. Durvasa Muni just ran. Durvasa Muni was a mystic. He can travel with the speed of a mind. Wherever Durvasa Muni go, the Sudarshana Chakra was after the Durvasa Muni. He went to Brahma first. He went to Brahma. He said, Pahimam, Trahimam, please protect me, please save me. He said, I cannot do anything. I am under the control of the Supreme Lord. And whatever Supreme Lord says, I do. I am not independent. I am completely dependent upon Him. You have to go to Him. He thought then Shiva can save, help him. So he ran to Shiva. Shiva also said the same thing. Myself and Brahma are all completely dependent upon the Supreme Lord. There is no other separate control. There is no separate existence other than the Lord. There is no way. So then, there is no way. So they said that you have to go to the Lord Vishnu. So Durvasa Muni could enter into the spiritual world. Durvasa Muni entered into the spiritual world and came to Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Lord, and paid the obeisances and fell flat at the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. Lord said, I don't have any other business other than the devotees. I do not know anybody else but devotees. This is Lord said to Durvasa Muni. I do not know anything else other than devotees, and devotees does not know anything else other than me. Any offenses against the devotees and offense against me, there is no remedy, there is no solution if you offend. So then Durvasa Muni was so afraid. Now he's going to Sudarsana Chakra is just after the Durvasa Muni. The Lord suggested one thing. Now you go back to the devotee Ambarish Maharaj. If Ambarish Maharaj forgiven you, pardoned you, then you will be saved. So Ambarish Maharaj then came back, Durvasa Muni came back to Ambarish Maharaj and fall flat at the feet of Ambarish Maharaj and please forgive me. Of course, devotee is always very compassionate. He is Paradukka Dukhi. As soon as saw that the condition, pathetic condition of Durvasa Muni, Ambarish Maharaj is pardoned and forgiven. And then Durvasa Muni, then Ambarish Maharaj served Durvasa Muni so sumptuously in such a way that with heart content, then served Durvasa Muni. This is a devotee. Devotee does not know anything else other than the Lord. So the devotee is the pure devotion. That's where we have to reach. This human form of life is to reach to that point that where we can always utilize our senses, mind and intelligence for the service of the Lord. Some way or other. So the best way to, it's very difficult to overcome our mind, our senses, our intelligence. Srila Prabhupada says that, the Rupa Goswami says this one. Anasatyasya vishaya nidakha upaichade nirbande Krishna sambande yukta vairagya muchyade. Anasatyasya vishaya. Now what we are doing? All our mind, intelligence and senses for these all worldly things. How many of you use your cell phone every day? Like more than 2 hours. How many of you more than 3 hours? 4 hours? So there are still raise hands. 5 hours? See? So for what? So this is the thing. Right? Yes, there is nothing wrong in it in the sense that, but utilize for the purpose of our spiritual cultivation. But just utilizing the cell phone to gratify our senses is a waste of time. You know that. So there are so many games out there, and I heard that people are just, what is that? They go and get into the traffic light and then hit the car and have you seen that, right? Pokemon Go and so many things, and they're so much caught up with it. The entire day they're using it for the games and so many things. You're completely wasting your life. Completely wasting your life. The devotees, this is our opportunity. The human form of life, the moment you lost it, millions of lifetimes it takes that to get back the consciousness that we have. So the consciousness we have to completely that to be transformed to Krishna consciousness. The best way to utilize our senses. Your ears, try to hear. At least when you utilize the phone, hear the glories of the Lord, pastimes of the Lord. I mean, there are beautiful, so many wonderful things. We can use this one. Then if you have the eyes, watch the dainty form, and when you have so many things out there. Then you have the hands, try to serve or to do something for the lordships. Your legs, come to the temple, go to the devotee's house. Your tongue, use the talk about the Krishna and honor the prasadam, use for the prasadam. Not like, this nonsense talking like in the purport says that the frog. The frog, as soon as the rain is there, what happens? The frog comes out. What the frog does? It starts to croak. Right? What is that? The croak. What is inviting? What is inviting? Snakes. Is inviting the snake. The snakes will easily come and kill them, eat the frog. Similarly, we are also caught up in this world like this. You know that the firefly is? The fireflies? You know what this fireflies does? As soon as it sees the beautiful fire, it sees that it's something glittering, so wonderful. I can get something out of it. What happens? It's completely come such a force. It's charged and rushed to come to the fire, and what happened? Boom. So we are like that. Our senses, what happens? Utilize for all this and end up in so much in distress. How many of you are on Facebook and so happy with this your Facebook posts and everything? Many of you know that, right? You have the Facebook account. You went there and you put all the posts out there, and you are so happy to put it, but you are looking every moment. How many responses, how many likes I have? And if you don't have, you are in so distress, and you went all the way and all the put everything, and you are completely in distress condition. This is what is we get. Chapala Sukha, Bhogatyaga, Sankalpa, Vikalpa, so many things like that. It's nothing permanent here. So, but rather than we utilize that, the senses, the time that you have, the senses for the service of the Lord, the association of the devotees, hear the glories of the Lordship, chant the holy name. How many of you chant every day? Very good, wonderful. Thank you so much. There is nothing sublime than in this world chanting of the holy name. There is nothing that you can compare with this holy name of the Supreme Lord. Dear devotees, just by chanting of the holy name, you know that Lord Shiva got this all possession, all this mystic potency just by chanting of the Lord's names of Krishna. Ananda Shesh, just by chanting of the Lord, Ananda Shesh had all these various potencies to hold this entire universe is on the hoods of Ananda Shesh just by chanting of the holy name. Just by chanting of the holy name. Brahmadev got this all knowledge to create this entire universe, all the creation, the potency got Brahmadev was just by because of chanting of the holy name. The devotees, all the great, even the Mother Tulasi Devi, Mother Earth, all these great personalities, if you take Ganges, all nothing but they all attain this various positions just because of they have the chanted the holy name, and only by chanting the holy name you can attain the perfection. And if you don't chant the holy name, here this engagement, you are wasting your life and you are having to get into again this, the cycle of birth and death, life after life. So the devotees, let me stop here. So this is our ultimate, this is our great opportunity. Somehow or other, you make an opportunity to associate with the devotee. Every day, chant the holy name, no matter what. You may have tons of things you have, but think about that. You get up in the morning, you chant the holy name. How powerful you are, how happy, how blissful you are. How many of you experience this one? We chant in the morning, right? And then you feel that experience. And if you don't chant in a day, how do you feel it? Every day you chant, but one day you didn't chant. How do you feel it? Something is missing, right? Like that, if you read every day Srimad Bhagavatam, you have so much of, see that this is where that we come out from our material bondage, material energy, we come to the spiritual, consciousness, spiritual. This is what is we need to do. Every day without fail, do this one. Chant the holy name, at least whatever the rounds that you have committed. Chant the holy name without any fail, early morning or whatever the time permits you. And at least listen. And come to the temple. Every week come to the temple. So this way, we all can like a pure devotee of the Lord. This is called knowledge. Otherwise, everything else is not knowledge. It is completely an ignorance. So thank you so much for this opportunity over here. Come here and say some few words. Grandiraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nanda Gaudi Vaishnava ki jai. Gauri Premanande. Don't know any questions. If anybody want to have any questions or anything, that you can contact me or maybe Prasad of time.
During Prasadam, if anyone has any question, you can ask Prabhu.